It's another spring training edition of the Wrap-Up Show with John Schaefer and Jim Russell. We are 3 weeks away, folks. 3 weeks away from opening day at Petco Park. Many of you may be there, in fact, with the news this week in the state of California of the possibility of fans being in ballparks around the state coming up in just a couple of weeks. You can follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer, JONSCHAEFFER, at Jim Russell SD. Again, at Jim Russell SD. Again, Jim, we're just a couple of weeks away, but I will say this. I think there's at least some level of concern with Fernando Tatis Jr. being out of the lineup. I know it's spring training. I know we're told it's minor aches and pains. He'll miss another game on Wednesday. He hopes to return to the lineup either Thursday or Friday, but this is a fifth consecutive day where Tatis has not been playing on the field for the Padres. Any level of concern for you?
What's the date? What's today's date?
March 10th?
March 10th. When does the season start?
April 1st.
Okay, we're good. If this were a situation where he was dealing with like a hamstring problem or another type of injury, like a back issue or an elbow, like something along the lines of like you can identify what he's dealing with and look at that specifically. But to me, if they're telling us he has aches and pains, but body aches, I don't know like exactly what to say about that other than I guess we just have to take them for their word. I mean, we've known the history with injuries with this organization. They'll say the guy's fine, and then 2 weeks later he's getting Tommy John surgery, right? But if they're not specifically saying he's dealing with a back problem or an elbow issue or, whatever it is, then I think it's just aches and pains.
You take it at its word. You take them at their word and say that maybe, they said he was dealing with a bug. And to your point, it is March, and these games are inconsequential.
Maybe he got it. Maybe he got sick. And I don't think it was COVID, but maybe he got sick, right? Like maybe he got like
flu-like symptoms,
like food poisoning,
or
something
absolutely.
like that. Because I've had food poisoning. You're like you don't want to do anything for the next week.
I think the only reason you bring it up with someone like Tatis, and tell me if this is fair or not, is you look at his track record, and now it's not with his health in terms of being sick or not. It's staying on the field. Now, last year, he was on the field. He played 59 games for the Padres. It's not his fault. He didn't have a chance to play 162. In 2019, it was a half season. In 2018, in the minor leagues, it was a half season. That's the one question mark around Tatis Jr. I think it's a great team-friendly deal. I really do, even at $340 million. But if there's one thing we haven't seen from Tatis, and again, this isn't entirely fair because of 2020, but I think we all feel the same way. You want to see him on the field for 156 games or 158 games. And hopefully we have a chance to see that right now in 2021.
And I think we can look at 2020 like on its own scale,
yeah.
Right? Like he played, 58 games?
59.
59 games. Yep. He played every game in the postseason, so he played around 70 games. He was healthy all last year. He had a great season.
He did.
I look at that as playing a full year.
No, I'm with you. I agree with that.
Even if it was just 60 games and you have, 7, I think they played 7 postseason games.
They played
6 postseason
They
games?
played 6, right? 3 against the Cards, and they were swept in a 3-game series by the Dodgers. Yeah.
Okay, so he played 65 games.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to say he hasn't played 162 games just because the second year.
Because of last year.
Because of last year.
I think you're right.
I think that they're going to manage him like we've seen right now in spring training to give you a minimum 150 games. Like if he played 150 games next year,
You'd sign up for that.
Thrilled with that.
Yeah, no, there's no question. I think that's the threshold, to be honest with you. There's guys like Machado. You look at Machado's career, Jim, and you look at the amount of games he's played professionally. I mean, he's playing 95 to 98% of games. He's playing 160 games before in a season.
But they're also different players.
They're different. And also Machado's now moved from short to third. You know what I mean? To give his body a little bit of a break. Tatis eventually could move there at some point in the midst of this deal. We have no idea.
And you look at the way that Tatis plays. He steals bases. He
plays hard.
All over the place, herky-jerky. Like shortstop is a very demanding position. And he's going to go after every single ball he thinks he can get. So I wouldn't be surprised if, he misses a couple games, maybe 10 games next year just because of rest or a little bit of wear and tear to get him healthy. It's not a situation where I'm concerned about it. He's only had one injury, and it wasn't really a major injury. I think it was an injury where they just didn't want to push him because there was nothing to play for.
You're talking about the back injury at the back end of 2019, right?
Yeah, I don't think
oblique.
It was did he have surgery on it?
No.
So it wasn't a major. Like if he had a torn ACL.
Well, wasn't it the year before though? And again, it wasn't. To your point, there hasn't been any significant injury, but wasn't it in the minors? Was it the hand-related injury? Was it the thumb or the hand when he slid into second base? He missed the second half of his last minor league season.
Yeah, but
again, these are fluky.
Yeah, it's one of those injuries that's easily avoidable. And
with the mitten.
With the mitten. That's what he put on.
Yep.
He wears a mitten every time he's on base. So, injury to the hand avoided. Very easy. Very simple.
I'm with you. I think it's probably much ado about nothing, assuming he gets back in the lineup this weekend. If all of a sudden it's 10 days, 15 days out of a lineup because of minor aches and pains, that would be somewhat, somewhat mysterious, to be honest with you. But hopefully this is something that, again, it's spring training. It's the first half of March, not the second half of March. As long as Tatis is good to go April 1st, I think all Padres fans will be fine with that, clearly.
And the Padres tweeted out pictures of him today.
Yeah, he was in
the cage.
Yeah, exactly.
AC tweeted out a video of him doing some work in the infield. So,
all right.
I think he had a bug, and I don't think it's anything to be too concerned about until, that the time comes where
you need to be concerned.
You need to be concerned about something.
I think there's a lot of good news when it comes to Dinelson Lamet. Now, I don't know if it means he'll be ready April 1st or not, but he threw a sim game Sunday, Jim, and according to MLB.com, hit 98 with his fastball, throwing 20 to 25 pitches, and threw multiple sliders. So this is the first time he threw a slider since he left that outing last September against the Giants at Oracle Park. What do you think? Is there a chance that he will be available for the Padres come the first week of April, or will they be somewhat careful with him, knowing that he's going to be on some type of innings restriction and we won't see him the first week of the season?
Don't push it. There's no reason to push him right now. You want to get him back to 100%, whatever he's at right now. I don't know where he is, if he's at 80%, 85%, 90%, whatever it is. You don't want to push him until he is fully ready without any concerns of throwing that slider. He threw that slider 52% of the time last year. That's incredible. That's his number one pitch. And if he can't throw the slider, I don't know how effective he can be with just his fastball.
Well, no, I know how effective. You can't pitch in the big leagues with only one pitch.
And that slider is an elite pitch for him. It takes him from an average pitcher to a Cy Young contender. So with what we've seen so far from this rotation with Darvish and Snell and Paddock's look really good. Gore's had good moments. Weathers has had good moments. Morahone has had good moments. Musgrove looked really good in his one start. There's no need to push him because you have enough there in your starting rotation to kind of weather the storm or make it so that the loss of Dinelson Lamet, if he starts the year on the DL, won't be such a glaring thing, right? Because you have enough in your rotation to have him take maybe a couple weeks before he gets a start.
Here's to your point, by the way, and I know you tweeted about this, and I know it's only spring training, but the success that Padres starters have had so far this spring, I think is encouraging, to your point, if Dinelson Lamet is not available the first couple of weeks of April, because Snell, Darvish, Musgrove, Paddock have all been really good. In fact, anyone that has started for the Padres so far, it's 17 innings of two-run baseball. Now, there's a little bit of an asterisk with the Mackenzie Gore start. We'll see him again here today. But by and large, San Diego's starters have pitched very well this spring so far.
Yeah, and Mackenzie Gore, like I said, yes, he only pitched technically 1 2/3 innings, and they ended the first inning. But his next inning after that, he was lights out. I think he threw 9 pitches. It was a 9-pitch inning.
Yeah.
So it was a good sign to come back after a shaky first and pitch really well in the second. I just think that with the rotation they have now, this is, you could say, the deepest rotation that this organization's ever had.
There has to be.
Right? It's the deepest rotation they've
Some
ever
people
had.
think it's the deepest rotation in baseball.
And just what we've seen from Darvish on Sunday was just incredible. He looked in midseason form,
which is amazing. To make your first appearance of the spring, throw mid to upper 90s, throw your breaking pitches for strikes, strike out 4 in 2 innings.
He said he threw 7 different pitches. I love that.
And he only threw how many pitches in total? 20-something?
Yeah, 20-something.
So basically every pitch was a different pitch.
Yeah. He looked amazing. Blake Snell has
looked really good.
really good.
Yep.
I think that Padres fans are going to if they haven't already, Blake Snell's going to be a fan favorite for sure.
He will. And I think
Easily.
Yu Darvish as well.
Yeah. And then we haven't really seen much of Musgrove. He pitched 2 innings against the Giants. I believe it was last Friday night. But I think he's another guy who's going to have a breakout year as well. I predicted that the guy's going to get 15 wins. I think that I think
it's realistic if he makes 30 starts.
I think that he's just a guy who's just going to be so solid and just so reliable for this rotation that it's going to be every 5th day you're going to be excited to see Joe Musgrove pitch.
The keystone for this whole thing, the linchpin, so to speak, is Chris Paddock. And I don't know if that's a bad thing, to be honest with you, now that he's probably your 4th or 5th starter. And now that he seems to be more mentally locked in than he's been at any point in his professional career. Now, you can't take a ton out of what he's been able to do so far this spring, but you mentioned Musgrove winning maybe 15 games. Let's see what Paddock can do. If he can put his numbers between 2019 and 2020, like split the difference and find a way to win 13 or 14 games, be reliable and be healthy, which he's been throughout his big league career, I think he could be someone that is a big reason why the Padres are able to get back to the postseason in 2021 if he pitches and makes 30 starts this year.
And the problem with Paddock last year was, the mental side of the game for him.
Yeah.
And also extending outings where if he had a blow-up inning, like if he gave up 3 runs in 1 inning, it was over for him. Like he could not recover.
True.
They need to get length out of him, and he needs to get over the fact if he gives up a run or if he gives up a home run on a good pitch, you kind of just have to tip your cap. Right? You got to move on, and you got to give your team 6 innings at least. Like I think that Paddock's a guy that you can rely on to give you 6 every outing.
Well, he's the one you want to give you length because we don't know what they're going to do with Darvish and Snell to start the year, knowing you're going to rely on them in October.
Especially Snell.
And then Lamet, if he's throwing a 25-pitch sim game in the middle of March, even when he gets to the big leagues, how many pitches is he going to be throwing? 50 initially, then 70?
Well, they haven't really pushed Paddock to that 100-pitch mark. Like the first 2 years he's been in the bigs.
It's been that 90, 95 range a lot.
Anytime he gets around 90, 95,
85.
He's done. He's out. Like they do not want to get him to 100 pitches or more. And I think that you could see this year maybe start off a little slow, but you can lengthen him out towards the middle half of the year. Hopefully, that's what my hope is that he can be a guy reliable enough to go out there and throw like a Lance Lynn. Gives you 6 innings every start, throws over 100 pitches. Like that's what they need on this staff is a guy you can throw out there for 6 innings, 100 pitches, and he's going to give up 3 runs or less.
What do you think the biggest storyline is related to this lineup? The starting lineup for the Padres, Tommy Pham, we haven't seen a ton from, obviously. Last year, somewhat of an aberration when you look at his numbers compared to what he had done previously in his big league career. We know about the offseason. It's obviously a huge season for Tommy Pham, who's going to be a free agent at the end of 2021. I just wonder, will he be the regular, or is Jurickson Profar ultimately going to be the regular?
Well, I think the biggest question with this lineup is can they duplicate what they did last year over 162 games? Like Trent Grisham, that was his first year as a full-time starter. He had a great year, but can he duplicate that and improve on that?
He had a streaky year as well.
Very streaky year, but he's also a guy that he's only played not even the same thing as Tatis.
He doesn't have 162 big league games.
Exactly. Tatis, I have all the faith in the world that he's going to perform like he did last year. Machado, he's had seasons where he has up year and then a down year, up year and a down year. I think he's going to have a huge year for this team because Manny Machado, I think that he's done with his bad year with the Padres because that team wasn't going anywhere, and you kind of saw he kind of just gave up towards the end of the season. He knows this team is a World Series bound team, World Series contending team, I think he's going to perform at an MVP level. But you look at guys like Will Myers. Can he perform like he did last year over 162 games? He's had some really bad down years before that and before last year. Can he perform? Eric Hosmer, can he stay healthy? Can he give you, can he hit 280, 290 for you with 20, 25 bombs? The Tommy Pham thing, can he stay healthy? He hasn't really done anything in a Padres uniform. Can he stay healthy and can he be out there and contribute, every day for you in a lineup?
Cronenworth, can he duplicate a rookie year that was really good for a month? The second month wasn't near as good.
I think that this lineup, while you look at the back of their baseball cards and you're like, this lineup's pretty stacked.
Yeah.
There are some questions in it for sure, no doubt about it. Like Austin Nola. behind home plate. He had a good year last year. I know he was playing on an injury, which is insane. Like he was playing on a broken foot or something. Like,
which is ridiculous. But
Yeah.
obviously, when you catch in the big leagues, you're going to be playing with some stuff. But yeah, that is ridiculous.
The catching position, they have gotten nothing out of the last how many years? They need to get
It's
something
been
out.
a black hole for forever.
Even when Austin Nola came over, he didn't really contribute much behind the catch, as a catcher. Offensively.
Yeah, offensively at the plate. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, when I think about the lineup right now, I think everything you said is extremely well said. I think Will Myers is primed to put together 162 games. I think he proved a year ago the pressure is off. I'm with you on Hosmer. I mean, he was out of the lineup a lot last year. Had the GI thing, remember? That cost him a week or two early. Had the hand situation late. That cost him a couple of weeks as well.
Never bunt again. Never.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see him bunting.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of reason to believe that Tatis and Machado can replicate what they did in 2020. I think the most curious spot is probably the dynamic between Jake Cronenworth and Ha-Seong Kim. Because what will that equal? You know what I mean? What are you looking for? If that's one position, if it is, and they might be moving these guys around. It might not just be one position. They want roster flexibility and versatility in the field. But if that's second base for you in 2021, like what would you sign up for? The combined numbers of Jake Cronenworth and Ha-Seong Kim over like 160 big league games.
I think that
265.
Realistically, between 260, 270 combined 20 home runs, combined
I
80
think that would be,
to 85
yeah,
RBIs.
because you don't need, because if you get the production of the Machados and the Tatises and the Myers and the Hosmers and the Profars and the Grishams, you don't need more than 265 with 20 and 80.
No, and you would hope that one of those guys kind of takes the reins and takes over that position, right? Like you hope one of those guys gets hot and they just become the everyday second baseman, and then the other guy you can plug and play somewhere else because they definitely are versatile and they can play multiple positions. Like Cronenworth can play first, he can play the outfield, he can play short. Ha-Seong Kim can play short, he can play third, he can play, I believe, in the outfield, maybe. So
I think he's gonna have to.
So your hope is that one of these guys gets hot and one of these guys stays in the lineup a majority of the time. Same thing with Jerkson Profar. I think he can place a lot of second base as well. But it also looks like they're going to put him predominantly in the outfield, center field, left field. It just all hinges on, I feel like, Tommy Pham's got to have a good year. He's got to have a good year. They brought over Tommy Pham to be a leader on this team, to give this team, some red ass, but he also needs to perform. Like he can't just be a guy that has a bunch of attitude. He needs to hit. And he has to stay healthy.
He needs to hit and stay healthy. And, when you think about Pham, you also have to think about Profar. Is Profar going to be able to put up the numbers that he put up in 2020? And the thing is, if Pham doesn't hit, you have Profar. But it's an interesting dynamic, I think, between Pham and Profar. And Profar, by the way, with what you're paying him, has to play more often than just being, obviously, a fourth outfielder.
Right. He can't play 2 days a week. Like he's going to be playing upwards of four times a week.
Yeah, no, he will. He will be playing upwards of 4 times a week. What do you make of the news that we're going to get fans, hopefully, at Petco as early as April 1st, 20% capacity at Petco Park, hopefully just 3 weeks from now?
I love it. I think that the fans have been just dying to see this Padres team play. And I said this a couple weeks ago. The last time Padres fans got to watch this Padres team at home was when they had blue jerseys.
Yeah, right. That's crazy.
They haven't seen this Padres team in action in the pinstripes yet. And to have upwards of 10,000 fans on opening day, it's going to be great. And I feel confident in the Padres making everything safe, everything accommodating to everybody, making sure that everybody is in a safe place to watch the game. But again, the atmosphere that was missed last year with this team was just to me it was glaring. It was a huge loss.
And then what's going to be unique, Jim, is that the fans inside Petco Park are going to be, by and large, season ticket holders.
Yeah.
Which means that really for the first time in how long? You tell me. A majority of fans, not all fans, I get it, but I mean a majority of fans, at least the first couple of weeks, if not couple months of the season, regardless of who you're playing, I would be willing to bet a vast majority of fans will be Padres fans because of the dynamic of not being able to buy single game tickets.
It better be.
It's going to be.
I've been to some games on a Wednesday afternoon against the Colorado Rockies where there were You know, they said the average attendance was around 20,000, but there was like 10,000 people there. Like it was obvious. So they've seen this before, but you're right. Like there needs to be 100% Padres fans in that ballpark,
which is going to be really unique when you think about going to a Padres game. If you're listening to this right now, how many times have you ever been to a Padres game where 95% of the people in the stands are rooting for the Padres?
It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
I mean, unless they're playing like, the Arizona Diamondbacks who don't have fans. You know what I mean? Name a franchise that doesn't have fans. But when you're playing the Dodgers or the Giants, or name the franchise.
Cubs.
I mean, there's a million of them, obviously, around baseball. I think it's going to be somewhat unique. It's going to be a special environment. I know it's not going to be 40,000 people, but if you've got 10,000 people all in brown and gold, I mean, I think it's going to be a pretty special environment.
If they set it up right where everybody's like in the lower bowl, and so you have everybody to make the loudest possible noise how the setup is.
Well, I don't know if everyone's going to be in the lower bowl because isn't the point to distance fans?
You can distance 10,000 fans in the lower bowl, I feel like.
Yeah, but it might be easier to distance 10,000 fans in the 40,000 seats as opposed to just the 20,000 seats.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, we're going to do this every week, every Wednesday as we get you set for opening day at Petco Park on April 1st. Make sure to subscribe to the Wrap-Up Show on the free iHeartRadio app to get future episodes automatically. And again, we'll do these each and every week between now and opening day. For Jim Russell, I'm John Schaefer. This has been another spring training edition of the Wrap-Up Show.